Welcome back, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is CT, and I'm back with my 2014 SEC football preview, and it's that team's turn, the Alabama Crimson Tide. And man, what an interesting year it was in 2013 for Alabama. It was going so smoothly, it seemed like another national championship run for Alabama, and which would have been a three-peat if they would have pulled it off. And it came to a crashing halt in the Iron Bowl in Auburn, Alabama. We all know what happened, and man, it just came down to one game. And if I honestly believe if they would have pulled that game out somehow, then Alabama would have been your 2004, 2013 national champions. And we'd be sitting here talking about a very different story right now. But we're not. Cade Foster, not it wasn't Cade Foster actually. It was whoever their backup kicker was at the time, and I'm assuming he'll be their starter now. I'm assuming, and that kick came up a little bit short. Chris Davis returned it 109 yards for a touchdown, and man, I still can't believe that. An absolutely once in a lifetime play. You'll never see that happen again, especially not in the Iron Bowl in a game of that magnitude. Man, that was probably the greatest, most entertaining, dramatic uh, play in college football history. Maybe in maybe in football maybe in football history in general. And you could argue that that was the most dramatic, best play in sports history. You can make that argument. I don't know what else would top it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just such a sucker for college football and SEC football in general that I'm a little bit biased towards it. But man, my jaw dropped to the floor. That if you aren't just captivated by that, outside of being an Alabama fan, of course, you aren't too big of a fan of it. Then you can't deny it. That was just unbelievable. But moving on from then, that's in the past. It has absolutely no bearing on this year. But real quick, Alabama goes to the Sugar Bowl and they play the Oklahoma Sooners, and they just never. After that first drive where uh, Bama drove down the field and punched it in and went up 7-0. From that point on, Alabama just seemed totally disinterested. And we've seen this before, excluding that game where they absolutely destroyed Michigan State, and I believe it was the Capital One Bowl in 2010, the year Auburn won the championship, where Bama just absolutely destroyed Michigan State. Excluding from that game, it seems every single time that Alabama doesn't play in the national championship, they just don't show up for their bowl game. If it's not a national title, they don't want nothing to do with it. That seems to be their mindset, which sounds like an excuse for Alabama, but I'm not an Alabama fan, so I have no reason to make excuses for them. I just call it how I see it, and that's just the way that it seems to me. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but regardless, they don't play well, and Oklahoma beats them, and that's made Oklahoma seem like the one of the top teams going into this year, solely based on that game in the Sugar Bowl. But you got to tip your hat to Oklahoma in that game and move on. Uh, moving on to, well, actually, just to summarize it, Alabama was 11-2 last year, 7-1 in the SEC, and getting into this year, they are returning 7 starters on offense and 5 on defense. Uh, Key players that they are losing that they had have lost. Excuse me. AJ McCarron, and uh, don't underestimate the significance in that loss. I know a lot of people just labeled AJ McCarron as a game manager, and he wasn't important. He could be replaced in a second, maybe, but AJ McCarron is a lot better quarterback than people want to give him credit for. I mean, he's a tall, uh, a nice size quarterback. He can stand into the pocket, deliver the football accurately most of the time. When he has time, when he's under pressure, not a very good quarterback at all. But not many quarterbacks are good under pressure. But that was evident in the Sugar Bowl against Oklahoma. He was under pressure and had his worst game of his career, I would say. And but yeah, what he had a heck of a career at Alabama. He won two or three national championships. Regardless, a heck of a career, and that's not going to be an easy player to replace. Uh, they lose C.J. Mosley, and he's basically the quarterback of the defensive side of the ball. C.J. Mosley was a heck of a football player, really great SEC linebacker, exactly what you want. Seemed like a class citizen, student, and player on the field. Uh, they're really going to miss him on that team. One of the veteran leaders, uh, as well as obviously AJ McCarron. So they lose their leader on offense and defense, and two really good players. Uh, they lose Clinton-Dix and Vinny Sinceri off out of that uh, defensive backfield. And Sinceri got hurt at some point in the season. I don't remember. So they were pretty much playing without him, I think, for most of the year. Clinton-Dix was a good, nice size corner that they're going to be missing as well. Uh, so that's three key players on defense. Arguably, their three best players on defense gone. Uh, They also lose Kevin Norwood, who I'm telling you is another really overlooked player. Not many people were talking about Kevin Norwood, but he made some great catches and big plays at big times. Uh, Ask AJ McCarron. I guarantee you he would tell you that Kevin Norwood was one of his favorite targets, probably beyond Amari Cooper. He didn't drop the ball. He had some great catches. Just goes up and makes some sick catches, high pointing the football in the air. Kevin Norwood is a really great receiver for Alabama. Key returnees. Before I get into guys who are returning, let me get into Coker, the transfer from Florida State. Uh, I really don't know a whole lot about this guy. I've seen a little bit of tape from him at Florida State. Uh, I guess Jameis Winston beat him out. No shame in that. Heisman Trophy winner. Jameis Winston's a great quarterback. Coker, he he doesn't have to be that great. While that's kind of what people are referring to when they're saying that AJ McCarron can be replaced and it they won't miss a beat. Uh, yeah, maybe, but it's kind of hard to get just a a transfer in from a different school just to be the leader of your team immediately. I'm interested to see how that will play out. Technically, I won't know how it's going to play out because I'm not in that locker room, so I won't exactly know. But we'll see what happens on the field. That's for sure. But a lot of people really like him. They think that he's the most talented quarterback coming in uh, that and in the Nick Saban era, which I guess really isn't saying a whole heck of a lot because they really haven't had any really big really big name quarterbacks coming in. They haven't had a Andrew Luck, a Cam Newton, RG3 type guy. Uh, but they really have the typical game manager type quarterbacks that you always hear about, and that's fine. That's all they need. They're a run first, play good defense team, and all they need is a guy who can, play action pass, throw it over the top when they need to. He can just be accurate when his chances come, and I think Coker can do that. I don't see that being much of a problem. I think he should be good enough to get the job done. Put it that way. I don't. He's probably not going to win any Heisman trophies, but he should be good enough to get the job done. And a reason being that one of the key returnees, Amari Cooper, you could argue he's the best receiver in the country. Uh, I think he's most certainly top five, maybe top three. Dorial Green Beckham, I think, is better. There may be some other guys outside of the SEC that I'm not thinking of. Uh, there always is some random guys who emerge. I didn't know who Kelvin Benjamin was before going into last year. Uh, I really like. You'll see it in my Auburn preview. I really like Sammy Coates. If you've uh, been following him in the offseason, he's put on some weight. The dude is just about 245 of just rock hard, solid muscle. This guy is going to be a monster, and Auburn's throwing the football a lot more, and he may be better than Amari Cooper uh, as the year goes on. But Amari Cooper's probably the second best receiver in the country right now, and he's definitely going to be uh, Coker's best friend. Going to be his best friend. Uh, Cooper and Coker, BFF, no doubt about it. Uh, and he's going to need that. It's really good for Coker to have that guy that he can rely on as a first year starter. It's always good to have a stud wideout that you can count on. Makes your life a lot easier, and that's what it's going to do for Coker. The return TJ Yeldon, of course, a big name running back. I'm not as high on him as I think most people are, and I'm not as high on him. I'm not as high on him as you would think I would be with how much you hear this guy's name. He's a very solid back. Don't get me wrong. He has some fumbling issues. I'm not a fan of how he carries the ball. Every time he's I see him holding the ball, running down the field. It's just you always think he's gonna fumble it just because of the way he holds it. It reminds me of Tiki Barber. They don't really hold the ball the same, but it gives me that same feeling. He holds the ball. It's not technical. It's not the way that you're taught. But yeah, if he just holds on to squeezes that ball a little bit harder, he'll be fine. But they return Derrick Henry, who I actually think is going to be better than T.J. Yeldon if they give him the chance. I was very critical of Nick Saban in the Sugar Bowl last year. T.J. Yeldon, it just wasn't his night. It was clear. Derrick Henry was killing it. Give Derrick Henry the rock more, and Alabama might win that game. I think they have a lot better shot. Derrick Henry, I think, is the next Richardson. I think he's faster than Trent Richardson. Maybe not as strong, but man, Trent Richardson is a big, strong dude. That dude's just a freak when it comes to how strong he is. But he's the next Eddie Lacy. Trent Richardson, I think he's better than Mark Ingram. He's going to be the next one in line. I think T.J. Yeldon is the worst out of that pack. Out of if you want to go down he may be better than Glenn Coffey, maybe. Maybe I'm not giving T.J. Yeldon as much credit as I should be. My bad for that. If that's the case, but I just don't think he's as good as Derrick Henry. I'm really high on this guy. I think he has a chance to be like one of the top five three to five best backs in the country this year. If he gets his chance, they give him a lot of carries, and I think they will, depending on how much they trust Coker. Uh, but man, I can't stress how much I like Derrick Henry. That guy really impressed me when he did get the rock last year. They returned Landon Collins. I think this guy is going to be the next, Dre Kirkpatrick, Mark Barron type of guy in the secondary, and he just seems like Nick Saban's type of guy. I mean, he can come up and make a tackle. He's a great tackler on the ball carrier. He can cover, a complete secondary player. I guarantee you, Nick Saban is really, really high on Landon Collins. I think he came in and played, took the spot for Vinny Sinceri, and he may he made that not that big of a loss. I guarantee you that. Landon Collins is a great player. He's really going to be something special this year at Alabama. Guarantee you that. Let's get into. Oh, real quick. I'm curious to who's going to take the spot for C.J. Mosley. I know is it going to be Reuben Foster maybe? Interesting to see that. They recruit so well. I'm not really worried about it. I'm just more just out of curiosity, wondering who it's going to be. But yeah, they won't. They recruit so well. Number one recruiting class in the country. They're always going to be. They're not going to be hurting in any spot, in any position. And at least they shouldn't be. All right, let's look at this schedule here. Well, they open up with West Virginia in the Georgia Dome, as we all know, or as I'm assuming we know. If you're a Bama fan, especially, a really easy game. I guess this was supposed to be a harder. I guess they thought it was going to be a bigger, more difficult game when they probably scheduled this game, but as we all know, West Virginia is fallen off quite a bit since Geno Smith and all those guys left. I'm not sure what their record was last year, but didn't hear much about West Virginia in the Big 12 now, even though they're way out, and it's about as far east as you can go. It's a very random selection, I thought, for the Big 12. But yeah, this is going to be a mismatch, mainly up front. Alabama's running game will absolutely run over top of West Virginia's defense. I guarantee you that. I wouldn't be surprised if they ran for well over 500 yards in this game. If they wanted to, they definitely could. I don't know if they will, but if they wanted to, they could. Alabama's going to absolutely destroy West Virginia in this game. That's my prediction. Then they host Florida Atlantic, which will be another absolute bashing, and they follow up with Southern Miss, which will be a bashing. And then they have Florida comes to town, which could be quite interesting, especially if Florida's going to be this turnaround team, the Auburn of last year, like a lot of people are saying they are. We'll see about that. I do think they're going to have a very good defense, which will probably keep them in this game for a while, and maybe keep them in for the duration of the game. But we'll see about that. I like Bama to pull that one out, though. Then they go to Ole Miss, which is that game's circled a million times on Ole Miss's schedule. They're gonna be. This is, Ole Miss. This is what Ole Miss needs to get over the hump, and they see a big old bullseye on Alabama's chest. They haven't been able to do it yet. and I don't think they'll do it this year, even though that game probably will be a close game as Ole Miss is coming, guys. They're coming, and but they're not ready yet. They're not ready yet. They don't have the horses up front yet. Then they go to Arkansas, and if Ole Miss doesn't have the horses yet, Arkansas really doesn't have the horses yet, and Arkansas will lose by quite a bit in that game, I believe. So uh, then Texas A&M comes back to Bryant-Denny, and we all remember what happened last time. And only difference this time, there's just a little difference is Johnny Manziel's gone, Mike Evans is gone, and any chance Texas A&M has in this game is gone. Uh, Alabama big in that one. Then Alabama goes to play Tennessee in the third week in October, like always, and poor Tennessee. That's all I'm gonna say. Poor Tennessee. Bye week. No disrespect to Tennessee, but I've stated it a million times. They're not ready yet. Which Jones is still a couple years away. And they have a bye week before they have the big game. It's always a big game every year as they go to Death Valley to take on the LSU Tigers. Uh, I said it. I think I said this in the LSU video. This game is kind of a toss-up to me. Not quite a toss-up. I like Alabama, but I would not be the slightest bit surprised if LSU wins this game in Death Valley. Pretty much because it's in Death Valley, and I think LSU will be coming on at this point in the year. They may have a couple losses. They may lose that first game to Wisconsin, and then maybe go on a run from there. My LSU, but I'm not sure about their defense. I'm not sure about their quarterback situation. A lot of questions for LSU, but they have talent. They recruit. When you recruit as well as they do, you're always going to have talent, and you're always going to have a chance. And when you're playing in that stadium, you always have a really good chance because it's a really hard place to come away with a win. Uh, then they host Mississippi State, and Mississippi State's kind of in the same boat as Ole Miss. Uh, a tough a tough out, as is everyone in the SEC West, kind of excluding Arkansas. And Dak Prescott could maybe make this interesting. I don't think he's gonna turn the ball over and let the Alabama defense have his way with them. But and the Mississippi State has the defensive line and the defense to stay with Alabama. But ultimately, I see Bama win this game by maybe 10 to maybe a touchdown, 10 points or 2 touchdowns, like 17, about what it was last year in Starkville, which was a lot more interesting of a game than people thought. That's because Mississippi State was coming on towards the end of the year, and watch out for Mississippi State, guys. But Bama will be okay. Then they have Western Carolina on homecoming, which should be an easy win, and then the season finale. Man, the old Iron Bowl. Auburn Tigers come to Bryant-Denny to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. This game is the definition of a toss-up. Like I do not know what's going to happen in this football game. I really don't. I tell you though, I think Auburn is going to be the better team. I think they're going to be the better team in 2000 and this year. But I like Alabama just a hair bit more than Auburn in this game. Mainly because it's two things. It's at Alabama. Not many teams come in there and get a win against a Nick Saban coach team. Not many teams. I don't know if anyone actually has beaten Saban and Alabama twice in a row. Very difficult thing to do. Uh, if anyone can do it, though, it's Auburn. It is Auburn and Gus Malzahn, who was an absolute genius of a head coach. This guy is it, man. This guy is no joke. Gus Malzahn is one heck of a football coach. Anybody who questions that, just they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And this offense is going to be lethal. They're going to put up some points. They're going to put up some points, and Alabama's going to have to match that against a really good young defensive line that Auburn's going to have, and they got their skill guys on defense are coming along too, and hopefully they replace Clinton-Dix and because Sammy Coates and Duke Williams, the JUCO transfer, are going to be beasts on the outside, and they're going to have to cover these guys, and it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a really difficult game. It's going to be one for the ages. It's going to be one for the ages. Arguably the two best teams in the country. You could throw Florida State in there if you want to, but man, this is a heck of a football game. I think they'll both. There's a really good chance they could both be undefeated at that time. But I think there's also a chance that Alabama and Auburn could, and I've heard some other people say this as well. They think they could both have two losses. Every team in the SEC could have multiple losses by the time the SEC championship's over. We'll see. That scares me for the SEC's sake. I want to see the SEC reclaim the national championship and bring that baby home where it belongs. And I want to see the SEC win the first college football playoff. And what I'm thinking is, get this. I think that it say Auburn and Alabama are undefeated going into this game, and Alabama pulls it out in a nail biter, and Alabama goes on and plays who I predicted the SEC East champion in South Carolina, who I think will have one loss. Uh, they beat South Carolina, which will give them two losses. And then Alabama and Auburn both be in the college football playoff. Something to think about. That'd be sitting pretty if you're a fan of the Tigers or the Tide or the SEC in general. And don't count the Gamecocks out of that either. And I'll be talking about this more specifically more later on. But yeah, that's what I have going down. I think the Tide might pull that one out, and that'll give the Tide an undefeated season so far. And I'll talk about what happens beyond that. I'm gonna do a top 10, uh, my preseason top 10, just in general, not SEC top 10 uh, college football rankings preseason. I'll probably be doing that after I finish these last two preview videos. So be looking out for that. And I think that about does it for Alabama and their 2014 preview. Uh, Tide fans, I wish you all luck this year. And always, I thank you all for watching. And I'll see you next time.